Hi, I'm Alpesh Doshi. I'm the founder of Fintech, and I'm going to talk to you about AI and data and cloud. The biggest problem that we see is that there's no AI without data, and there's no real scale without cloud, and I'm going to run through what I think around the area. So some of you, or most of you will know that the promise of data has been amazing in the last 10 to 12 years. We've seen massive growth of data. We've seen huge amounts of collection of data. We've seen digitization of industries, and that's also led to massive growth in collection of data across almost every industry. We've seen 59 trillion gigabytes of data, and that's almost 5,000% growth in the last 10 years. But we're going to see even more growth over the next 2 to 3 years. But the problem is 90% of all data is still inside enterprises in silos and not being used. The problem is that companies cannot extract their data. They may be collecting it in all the different systems that they have, but the reality is they haven't really started using that data in anger. And if they have, they've created systems which have aggregated data, but they haven't really taken advantage of the benefits of using AI in their business. So the promise of AI has been around in the last 5 years. We've seen massive growth of people saying AI can do this and AI can do that. And we see that people talk about artificial intelligence being everywhere. We see it on the phone with Siri and a bunch of other things. We see applications that are using AI, but the reality is AI is not really anywhere. In most companies, AI is still not being used any kind of anger. Less than 10% of companies have got any scaled use of AI in their businesses. And few companies report, less than 65% have reported that they have made any gain in investments in AI in their businesses. So, the promise is there. The reality is we're far away from actually leveraging AI in your business. So we've seen the massive growth of cloud over the last 10 years. We've seen the massive growth of Amazon and AWS and Google Cloud Platform really gain adoption where companies want to move their data and their applications into the cloud. But the reality is, we're at very early in the adoption of cloud for real applications built for the cloud in the cloud. Less than 10% of enterprises actually have cloud native applications today. But the adoption of cloud has increased significantly over the last 10 years. But the reality is, if you don't change the way you build your apps and only do a lift and shift, you really aren't leveraging what cloud can do for your business. The other thing you need to do is look at new types of architectures and new data architectures. So leveraging the ability to implement stuff in the cloud to scale needs a different type of architecture approach. One such approach is using data meshes, and I'll talk about that shortly. But the most promising thing here is if you want to leverage data and AI, think about how you move your applications into the cloud and redesign and re-architect every single application. And because the cloud can save you a shed load of money by not having physical servers in your own data centers and you do it on usage only, you really can leverage the scale of the cloud a lot better than you can by having it on-premise. And given what I said earlier about the amount of data that's increasing and being produced, and that will be around, your business needs to move to the cloud in a way, not just by shifting every application in the cloud, but actually re-architecting and then moving your applications to the cloud. So, most business processes need data, right? Without data, you can't really execute any of those business processes. And one of the key things is to make sure that you embed data into every decision across the whole business, provide that data layer across the business, and make every decision fact-based and data-based. Now, most companies haven't got there yet. So many companies are still based on instinct and not using data. The next one of the biggest shifts is culturally shifting to making database decisions and providing tools and capability so that individuals can have those tools and capabilities to make better database decisions. Driving business process change also needs data. If you're going to transform your processes, if you look at the performance of those processes, leverage data and use data in those processes as well. And almost all companies are thinking about digital transformation. Digital transformation is really a business transformation, and data should be the heart of that. Data should be taken as a key pillar, and the data strategy links to your business transformation strategy and your digital transformation strategy. one of the key things that you could do as you do the transformation is actually embed AI decisioning in your processes. So rather than just saying there's an analytics report or a business intelligence or a dashboard, really think about how AI can actually be implemented, the models can be implemented, so that you can really get advantage of AI and how that could be of benefit in every part of your business. So first things to do is think about how you're going to build your cloud platform. If we've seen the growth of data storage over the last 10 years, enterprise data warehouses have been around since the early 90s, mid 90s, late 90s, and the cost of these data warehouses has been significant. Companies have spent tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions, building data warehouses. And these data warehouses are still there. They're still used by companies, very scared of trying to move off them. But the reality is they're on-premise. As data scaled, enterprise data warehouses really haven't scaled, and the cost is escalating. To integrate data, to manage data, to do maintenance on data warehouses has not really changed. It's a significant cost. Then what we had was cloud-based data warehouses, which what happened was people just took their servers and put them in the cloud and said, hey, we have a cloud-based enterprise data warehouse. The reality was there was no change. It was just the servers were in a cloud, a public cloud or a private cloud, but really hadn't changed anything. And then about 10 years ago, data lakes came along with the problem that, hey, this is going to solve all your data problems, bring all your data into a data lake in Hadoop, and that's going to solve your problem. The reality was that's not what happened. What we got was huge amounts of data dumped in a data store. Nobody really knew what it was. There was very poor data governance, and nobody really knew how to use the data stores as they were, because people just dumped data in without really thinking about it. And so what we have is those data lakes are still there, either on premise or in the cloud, but actually the reality is they still haven't fixed the problem. And so what you have to do is think about cloud data platforms, building a data layer across your business, logically bringing data together. Remember, this is not about bringing data into one physical place. It's about logically thinking about how you can bring that data together across your business, moving off silos, and using a different kind of approach and a different kind of architecture. Now, some of the advantages you have by having cloud is, frankly, you lower your maintenance costs significantly. You don't have to have large teams of people monitoring servers in your own data center. You really can reduce significantly the cost of running your data. You can provide a lot more granular access to the data if you architect it correctly, and therefore any part of the business can use data in the way that they want without having to worry about all the different aspects of security and governance that you may need to do. Cloud allows you to build and architect applications a lot more easily. Another important factor is the use of dynamic workloads. So if you wanted to process data, and with AI, it's one of the fundamental things. If you're going to run and scale models, running and scaling models in a timely way within your own business or with your own data center is really not possible. The workloads that you can implement in the cloud can be run at any time of the day. It can be optimized. They can be optimized for running at the non-peak times. So you can run those models in a way that allows you to get the scale of AI without having the cost of AI on premise. So one of the key areas that I think about and that you could do being an architect is looking at new types of architectures. One of the key architectures that we've seen emerge in the last couple of years is what's called a data mesh architecture. It's moving away from having a monolithic data model, moving away from a single data platform, a data cloud like Hadoop, but actually building a better architecturally driven set of principles, looking at what are called data domains. So you're moving away from centralized ownership of data to decentralized ownership, where different teams own different data products. So there's not one team that owns all the data. The data is delegated, and the ownership of the data is delegated to different teams. And you're moving away from siloed engineering teams to cross-functional domain data, and you're focusing on domains which are about different business concepts. So rather than thinking about databases and data models, you're thinking about a product or a customer, and where the customer data resides is abstracted away without having to worry about where it is, but you can surface the use of that customer object and that customer domain a lot more easily into users, into applications. So what you're doing is you're shifting the thinking and the implementation from trying to get data all in one place to logically bringing data together and building an architecture which allows you to surface the use of data products with anybody across the business more easily and more cheaply, so that you can have all your data together but actually leverage that data significantly better. So there really is no AI until the data is fixed. You have, every enterprise has large amounts of data that they could use, really, and that could be your future USPs, that could be your future business advantages if you can fix your data. It really is about getting executive buy-in. If you don't get executive buy-in and help the senior C-suite understand the value of data, really understand the value of data and how that could transform the business, then you're missing a trick. This is one of the key things here you need to think about. Companies are going through their digital transformation, but actually data and AI is not really included in that. Make data and AI as part of your strategy going forward and build a data operating model. If you build a data operating model and put that into the business operating model, it really will make a difference to actually getting the use of data and AI across your business. And you really can transform your business with data and AI. You can take your existing businesses, you can leverage and build solution stacks which allow you to have a single data layer, but actually enable you to build those data-driven applications a lot more easily and rapidly build business use cases and allow you to leverage all your data across your business. So really think about data, think about the strategic perspective of data in the business, think about C-suite understanding the value of data in the business, and that's how you'll progress. So in summary, to get your data and AI right, you really need to think about three basic things. One, bring your data together. Now, this doesn't mean bring your data physically together into one place. This is logically integrating your data across the business using the concepts like data meshes and data domains. Move beyond your data lake or data warehouse. Yes, if it's already there and there's a data lake, don't throw it away. Figure out how you can embed it into the data layer and build those abstractions above those things, rather than trying to say, we're going to throw the data lake away. Create and deliver a cloud native approach from scratch. Don't think about lift and shifting. Think about rebuilding applications that are cloud native in the cloud, serverless, using all the clever technology like containerization to allow you to build those applications which are flexible and scalable and be reusable across all parts of your business. The second point is apply AI to your data. Build those cloud native AI models, and there's a suite of open source models you can use. You don't have to try and buy proprietary applications. There's a suite of open source libraries across anything and everything you can think of that allow you to easily build AI driven applications. So open source is great. I always think about open source first and think about how you can use open source technologies. You can adapt those algorithms and models yourself, and you can leverage those very easily in the cloud because it's a matter of plugging those in. And because of that, you can dynamically scale your AI. You don't have to worry about the cost of having enough compute power and workload power in your own business, because you can scale it how you want. And remember, you can scale it and use AI and scale and execute models in a way that saves you costs. So you can architect it and build it so that it doesn't mean it's going to cost you millions of dollars to run a model. You really can build them so that it costs you less, but actually get huge amounts of value. Think about building data and AI products. So move away from just saying data is there as a pool and we're going to implement and stuff. Think about how data can be used as products within the business. And finally, look at building data-driven applications. So once you have that data layer, think differently about how you actually build data apps. Focus on how data can be used across the whole business, and build what's called a systems of intelligence and enable you to build those data apps that sit across every part of the business with an abstraction layer with the physical storage in the cloud. So, to sum up, there are a number of things you need to get started to leverage data and AI in the cloud. Firstly, integrate your data, AI, and cloud strategy. Think about these three things all together. Align to the business strategy, your digital transformation activity. So don't think of these three things separately. Think of them as one thing altogether, and how you're going to transform your business to leverage data across your business. Think about it from the fact that you have limitless capacity, you have limitless workloads, and think about how you can build a different type of business strategy focused on leveraging data in your business and integrate it into your business as a key pillar. Finally, look at modern architectures and with data products. I've talked about data meshes briefly. Those kinds of architectures really can help you drive the change faster at a pace which you can afford without having a big bang or a big bang approach and having to cost you millions. You can use Agile and leverage off new types of architectures and build those domain models to drive the adoption of data and AI in the cloud. Thank you very much. Thank you.